Right now, deep inside your brain, your hippocampus is failing to file a single memory from today, and the sleep scientists who discovered why admit there is nothing they can inject to undo what your morning coffee already did. You drank it to think better. It is quietly erasing what you thought you were learning. Here is what that means for you right now. Every conversation you had today, every idea you absorbed, every skill you practiced, your brain has not stored any of it yet. Memory doesn't work the way you assume. Nothing gets filed during the day. The filing happens at night during a precise window of sleep when your hippocampus, your memory's filing system, runs its consolidation process. It transfers the day's impressions from short-term holding into permanent storage. Without that transfer, the day dissolves. Your brain treats it like background noise. And what is silently blocking that transfer every single night is still in your bloodstream right now. We are getting to exactly how to interrupt it. Here is the machinery. Every waking hour, your brain produces a chemical called adenosine. It accumulates, it builds pressure. By the time you go to bed, that pressure is what pulls you into the deepest stage of sleep, slow-wave sleep, the stage where the hippocampus does its filing. Caffeine works by locking into the exact docking sites adenosine needs. It does not destroy adenosine, it hides it. The pressure appears to vanish. But when caffeine finally clears those receptors, the adenosine that was masked floods back in a surge your brain was not designed to absorb cleanly. Your slow-wave architecture collapses, not all the way, not visibly. You sleep 8 hours. You wake up feeling functional, but the transfer never completed. The hippocampus went through the motions, like a librarian carrying boxes through a library with no shelves. The memories from yesterday are already beginning to degrade. Sleep researchers know this mechanism in precise detail. They can watch slow-wave density collapse on an EEG after a measured caffeine dose. And what they have published, quietly, in journals most people never read, is that the disruption does not spare the people who feel fine. Subjects who reported sleeping normally showed the same slow-wave suppression, the same memory deficit, the same hippocampal underperformance as people who noticed poor sleep. The damage is invisible by design. That is what makes it so effective at hiding. You get the alertness, you lose the filing, you spend the next day feeling sharp while running on a thinning archive, certain you retain things you will not be able to retrieve. We are almost at the rule that stops this. Here is what changes the calculation completely. You probably think you have a solution. Drink less, cut off by noon. That sounds correct. It is not enough. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 7 hours, and that number shifts based on your genetics and liver enzymes. If your clearance runs slow, a noon coffee still occupies receptor sites at midnight. A 2 p.m. cup is worse. The problem is not how caffeine feels in your body. It is what residue is chemically occupying your adenosine receptors while you sleep. And this is exactly why better sleep hygiene alone cannot rescue you. If the chemical is still blocking those sites, your slow-wave architecture cannot recover. Feeling rested is not the same as filing correctly. High performers use a rule that almost nobody in the optimization space discusses openly. It is not about quitting caffeine. It is about restructuring the window. No caffeine for the first 90 minutes after waking. A hard cutoff at least 10 hours before sleep, not 8, 10. The morning delay is not about willpower. Cortisol peaks in the first 90 minutes after waking and performs the exact alertness function caffeine mimics. If you stack caffeine on top of that cortisol peak, you blunt your natural response and train your body to need the chemical just to feel awake. By waiting, you preserve the cortisol cycle intact, which shifts your usable caffeine window later into the morning, which means your 10-hour cutoff lands earlier in the afternoon. This is not a wellness recommendation. It is a biochemical minimum for anyone who wants the hippocampus to do its job. The people running at the front of their field are not drinking more caffeine. They are drinking it inside a window that does not cost them their memory. Tonight, if you had caffeine after noon, your slow-wave sleep will be suppressed. You cannot reverse that tonight, but you can start the reset now. Before you do anything else, set one alarm not to sleep earlier, not to meditate, just to mark your caffeine cutoff for tomorrow. Move it 1 hour earlier. 1 hour, sustained across a week, will measurably restore the consolidation process your hippocampus has been quietly failing to complete. But the hippocampus is not the only region being compromised. There is another structure in the same circuit that caffeine hits in the opposite direction, making you feel more certain about memories that were never properly stored. Which means the mental model you build every single day may be thinner than you know.